on fire. I played some of the regular NBA Jam last night before I took it apart. I was like, this is wild.
Vintage experiences.
The computer's way too smart.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're talking about the debut of WandaVision on Disney Plus.
Finally. I can't wait to talk about this.
Yes, it's going to be our first topic, so I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. If you guys haven't watched it, just pause, go bang out this in less than an hour, and come back and join us. Did you know Justice League will be released as one movie instead of 4 episodes?
God, Chris, I don't care anymore.
Yeah. I've actually did the math. I'm like, this is going to save me time in the long run. We're also gearing up for fatalities with the new Mortal Kombat movie.
Mortal Kombat. They better have that music in there, man.
Oh yeah, we need some European techno with someone just screaming Mortal Kombat over it. I'm down with it. You got to have it. Like, that's iconic. Even more than the games, and more.
You got to have it. Like the Arby's double beef and cheddar that I had yesterday. I don't know why I feel like I needed to plug this. Like, I feel like I have Arby's every once in a blue moon, and I like to amplify them, right? I feel like Arby's is always on the precipice of becoming like the Nickelback of fast food, which I think is not okay. I like their food. Every once in a while, you just need a Arby's beef and cheddar. So
well, I mean,
I'm putting vibes out in the world because they usually do like some really nerdy social media advertising. So I was like, they could throw us some bucks. I'll push curly fries all day, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. So a double means you got the medium sized one, right?
I don't know. I looked at the
because
menu
it's not
and I
2.
said, no, a double as in like I think they put more roast beef and more cheese on it.
I get the full. I get the one that's so big they don't even wrap it. They have to put it in a crate, like a cardboard crate. Like, that's the size I'm talking about.
Oh man!
But I've been very disappointed with Arby's the past several years, and I think I've told you this before because they swapped over from Pepsi products to Coke products.
Oh, see, this is totally different in our household. My wife is a Diet Coke fiend, so she just wanted the curly fries and the Diet Coke. So
because all I want's a roast beef and Mountain Dew, man, like just a nice Mountain Dew, a Fountain Dew, if you will.
Then I'll have you put your arms up so I can slide a shirt on you that says "Yeah, I'm a gamer" in like a distressed font.
Yeah, exactly. and it's I love Arby's and I feel bad for people like but I always go back to the old Seinfeld reference where David plays like what are we doing for? He's like, it's an Arby's night. So I'm like, yeah, it is an Arby's night. I also have found my taste changing there over the years as well. I didn't used to like horsey sauce, but I love horsey sauce now.
Well, yeah, we're adults now, Chris. We have adult tastes. We have adult opinions, and that's why we started a podcast, so we could give people our opinions on adult things.
Especially food. People like when we talk food. I don't know why.
It's a universal common denominator. Yeah. Everybody on the planet eats food, which is one of the hilarious things, a hilarious joke that they put in WandaVision. I think it's like the best running gag. I don't know if it makes it into the second episode, but we'll talk about it when we get there. I don't want to jump the gun here.
Oh, it does. It does. Did you watch the second episode yet?
Oh, yes. Okay. I just couldn't remember if it came.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll jump into that here in a little bit. But yeah, I agree. So let's go ahead. We haven't talked about the show at all. Mm-hmm. Let's just jump into the QuaranStream. No segues, just bang it out.
QuaranStream it up. Well, update from last week. I was in the process of finishing up Cobra Kai, and I just thought this would be funny to mention because the last thing that I said to our audience was just like, oh yeah, we're pausing on Cobra Kai season 3 right now. They're diving deep into some Karate Kid 2 lore. We haven't seen it yet, so I think I said as soon as we're done with the podcast, we're gonna go watch Karate Kid 2. Well, we sat down on the couch, and I was like, I really don't want to watch a movie just so I can finish my TV show. So we just kept watching, Chris, and I didn't need it. I really didn't need to watch Karate Kid 2. They held my hand plenty to get through it. Karate Kid 1 is still required viewing because like the drama and the characters that are introduced in that first movie just permeate every single episode of all 3 seasons. But like Karate Kid 2 really kind of only pops up like every once in a while, like in like season 3. Yeah, there's some heavy episodes that deal with it, but Like, it's just like 2 in the middle. So this is just a PSA of like, don't worry so much about the other Karate Kid movies. You can get by with just one. And then also, every once in a while, our favorite app, Chris, Just Watch, is not quite accurate. Mm-hmm. And all of the Karate Kid movies you can watch for free on IMDb TV/Amazon Prime. So they're all there, not just the first one. So if you do want to catch up on Karate Kid, you can do it over there. And yeah.
What about Three Ninjas? I mean, people were hyped. We were bringing up Three Ninjas last week. So
my God, we for nostalgia, we were watching the trailer for Three Ninjas, and I think Three Ninjas, what is it, Part 2, or I don't know exactly what they called the sequel to Three Ninjas, but we were watching the trailers on Amazon Prime just to get a little kick of nostalgia. But now it's like in our recommended watch queue, so I'm like, so it's just there every single time we boot up Amazon Prime, and we see it every single time now because the next show that we started watching is The Americans, which is an FX original, but it just happens to be on Amazon Prime right now. I assume whenever the streaming contract has expired, it'll go over to Hulu, where all the other FX stuff is. So now every time we boot up Amazon Prime to watch The Americans, I just see Three Ninjas like up there in the corner. And I was like, well, at least it pushed all of the holiday Christmas recommended stuff off of the fold, to the right of the screen, so I don't have to look at it anymore. But yeah, that's the next thing we're watching, The Americans, and it's been really, really fun. Everyone has always told me that The Americans is like the prestige show that like nobody watched. I don't know. I think it started airing maybe right around the time Breaking Bad was wrapping up, or like really the intensity of like TV and streaming was starting to crank up. And then I don't know how The Americans just got lost or what exactly happened, but it's been a fun ride. We're almost through the first season right now. There's lots of fun. There's espionages. There's spies. There's like, it's an 80s period piece about like the Cold War. It's fun. It's exciting.
Are there Americans?
Yes, they are Americans in this TV show because they are in Washington, D.C. So it's just been a great time. You can tell watching it that it's just going to get more and more and more intense, right? I feel like I'm watching something of the generation of Breaking Bad, right? Which really isn't that far. It's not like I can like look down the road. It's like it's not that long ago, but it feels very much kind of that time and of that ilk. So we're having a really good time watching The Americans. So we're going to be binging that for, I think there's 5, 6 seasons.
6 seasons. I just did a quick search because I was like, I was associating with Carrie Russell. Yeah, and I was like, I'm pretty sure she's the main person, right? Like,
yeah, she is one of the co-leads, as I would say. And there's 13 episodes per season. They're like 40 minutes. So this is like a full-on drama. So we're going to be engrossed in this for a while. One thing that we're not going to be necessarily engrossed in is there's a new sitcom on Fox, I believe. It's called Call Me Kat, which stars the one chick, what's her name? Mia Blickman?
Yeah, Mia Bialik. She's Sheldon's girlfriend in The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, but also Blossom. Yeah. From Blossom back in the day. There was really nothing about this show that made me need to watch it, but we were just like eating lunch one day and we just needed something to throw on, didn't quite want to commit to an episode of The Americans. So like, hey, this is a new show. We've seen the billboards for this on the way to the grocery store. Let's throw it up. Let's see how it is. And we watched it, and it's bad. It's just a bad, extremely generic sitcom. And you're on a bad track for a sitcom when they lean into the gimmick of the show more than the jokes and the characters. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, her name's Kat, and she runs a cat cafe, and she lives above it, and she's awkward, and funny situations ensue. And it's like, oh God, you're leaning too heavy on this. The only good thing about it is that what's it? Is his name Leslie Jones or Leslie Jordan is in it? I don't remember exactly his name, but he's like this tiny little Southern guy with like white hair, the actor, and he's just got a hilarious voice, and I love listening to him. So that's not enough to watch the show, but he's in it.
Well, so I've seen a lot of like cross promotion for this. I think even during I think it was like New Year's. She was doing some sort of piano song, like promoting this as well. The actress, and I'm like, this doesn't look fun at all. Why are you doing this? So I'm a cat guy, you know me. So.
The whole time we were watching it, we just kept thinking, oh, this is something like our parents would love. It just seems like very like it just seems like very bottom of the barrel. Like, I don't want to insult, people. I'm sure a lot of people worked really hard in the show, but it's just not for me. But since my wife is within the television industry, we use this as kind of like an experiment to go watch Miranda, which is a 2009 BBC show, I think, or Across the Pond show. It's the same problem I always have with this. It's a British show, right? Because at the opening of Call Me Kat, it says based on the I think BBC television show Miranda. So I was like, oh, that's what's happening here. This is a remake of probably a much better TV show from the BBC. So head on over back to Amazon Prime, and you can watch the 2009 show Miranda, which is what this show is based on. And it's so much funnier because the British just have a much better sensibility for kind of multi-cam live audience sitcoms. And it's a similar setup of a kind of a loveless, awkward woman. But instead of owning a cat cafe, she owns like a joke shop. And it's just a lot funnier. And also like the actress, like, visibly looks a lot more awkward in Miranda because she's like super tall. She's like over 6 foot tall, and she just kind of has like a big frame. So I just wanted to bring it up that it was a fun experiment. We watched kind of the modern American version of it, which was bad, and then we watched the original BBC version of it, which was legit funny. Like we had like real like guttural like LOL moments. So we'll probably go back and watch more of Miranda on Amazon Prime.
Well, also, Miranda is known for having Tom Ellis, who plays Lucifer in the
That's why that guy looked familiar. Yeah, he's like the old high school friend that like cooks at like a pub across the street from her joke shop. That's why that guy looked familiar. Yeah, he was Lucifer, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it still is. I think the part 2 of the final season's still going on for Netflix.
Okay, so yeah, I guess if you need required viewing for your Lucifer fan base or for your fan blog, you got to go watch Miranda. But I guess with the two things that the show have in common is both of the main characters will break the fourth wall and look at the camera, but it just works so much better in kind of like the British version of the show. So. Yeah. There you go. If you want to have a fun experiment, go watch those two things back to back. It's a trip. But that's my QuaranStream this week, Chris.
Yeah, and that's those British shows are always interesting like that because there's one called The Chase. It's a game show called The Chase right now. I think it's got the guy who won Jeopardy most recently on it, or the younger guy. What's his name? James something.
Ken Jennings?
No, not Ken Jennings. It was the younger one who was.
Oh, he's kind of got like the spikier hair.
Yeah, the black. I think his name's James something. But this was there's this British guy who does this called The Chase, and he's called The Beast, and you have to like answer more questions than him, or if he catches you, you lose the money, kind of thing. And they just came out with the American version of this. And I'm like, I don't like this at all. I like the British version way better, or the British guy way better. I guess it's an American game show, but it's British stuff. So
I mean, we always say like American women will like buckle at the knees of like of a foreign man's accent, but like at the same time, I'm just like, yeah, I think British TV shows are so much more charming because of their accents. So everybody in America is at the whims of a foreign accent. It just makes things so much more fun.
Yeah, this is where I'd plug Auntie Donna's Big House of Fun on Netflix as well. If you've not watched that.
Chris, I watched one of those episodes. That first episode is crazy. There's like a talking washing machine in the very first sketch, and I'm just like, oh, I know exactly what this show is now. There's a talking washing machine with gigantic googly eyes. It's very silly.
Who is immediately evicted as well.
I think the thing I appreciate also is there's a sketch where they bring on Jerry Seinfeld, but they just cast the Indian guy from Deadpool, right?
Yes, Dopinder, from Deadpool.
Yeah, and he just plays Jerry, and he doesn't put on like a Jerry Seinfeld accent at all. It's just he just uses his own voice. It's very funny. I would also recommend that show.
Yeah, and the best part is like those are like quick bites too, like a Quibi, if you will, for like the episodes are like 20 something minutes, so that's pretty good. I dove for my QuaranStream, I dove back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and some older Marvel films this week. I was going to bed a little earlier than usual. I'm like, I need to lay down, so I'm gonna put some stuff on. And one of the ones I jumped back into recently was Ant-Man and the Wasp. Mike, I don't know, simply because one of these characters will show up in WandaVision later. Jimmy Woo, the guy who wants to learn the magic tricks from him. Is it Jimmy Woo? probably, I don't know. The actor Randall Park will be in WandaVision. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to go check this out, see what's up. And, for the movie in between, one of the two movies in between Endgame and Infinity War, it's still pretty fun little romp there throughout the whole thing. I enjoy the I guess the suit advancements and especially the scenes, and I think we've talked about this before, is where he shrinks himself to like kid size at the school on accident, and he has to
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about that scene. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, so like the whole time I forgot the suit was malfunctioning. Like they didn't have a working suit for Ant-Man the whole time because it was like a prototype for Hank. So I think that was a pretty fun adventure. If you haven't got a chance to go back and revisit, I don't think people are clamoring to go back and watch more Ant-Man or Ant-Man and the Wasp until the third one where they bring Kang into this whole universe. It's going to be
it needs a hot beef injection, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is one of the more safer, family friendlier movies, right? Like there's nothing scary. There's the MacGuffin is, this traveling skyscraper that's a briefcase kind of thing. The ghost thing's kind of scary at some points, but it's fine. It's whatever. It's pretty standard fare. But I still had a good time watching. I was like, I could go to sleep in this, but I'm gonna finish you. I'm gonna watch you all the way through till the end. And then lastly, I even texted you this. I was watching The Amazing Spider-Man 2. My wife was like, "Do you want to watch The Amazing Spider-Man?" I'm like, "Only if it's the second one. I don't want to watch the first one."
Does she have a thing for Andrew Garfield? That's just such a strange request out of the blue,
Well, we were going through my Chris flicks, if you will, and she saw them. So it wasn't like a out of the blue request. It was like, "Do you want to watch this?" I'm like, "I'll watch the second one," because I was like, I remember how disappointed I was watching that second one. And it still feels, again, I'm pretty sure it's Mark Webb who directed this, right? And I believe, did he do 500 Days of Summer as well?
Yep.
This one is the most 500 Days of Summer-esque of all the movies, where you see Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy crying over not being able to be together because she wants to go to England, like this whole goddamn movie. And then there's like this unearned Green Goblin scene. I forgot how good the visual effects for Jamie Foxx were, though.
That was
Electro.
one thing I always loved about the two movies is the Spider-Man suit was on point. I even liked it in the first one, but it got even better in the second one, and the action was good. I wasn't really gripped by it because the stakes weren't high and I didn't really care that much about the characters. But yeah, I thought the web slinging stuff was always really good.
Yeah, exactly. And then also just like the villains looked real, like the Lizard and Electro, and even Green Goblin. Even it's fucking weird how he's just, here's Norman and he dies 5 minutes later, and now you've got a genetic disease to solve in like 2 days. So it was really weird on that. But like I was very thoroughly impressed with it. And you say the stakes weren't high, but I will give them credit for killing Gwen Stacy at the end of this. Like most other movies, I think would pull back and be like, "Oh, we're gonna set you up for what looks like her death," but god damn, when her head smacks that concrete, I'm like, God, that is awful. Like this is.
I should say like every superhero movie has like life and death stakes. I would just say I didn't care about them.
Yeah.
It's like I was like, I don't care if any of these characters die. Just kill them off. Nothing's gonna be big enough to make me care.
Yeah. Well, and at that time, we thought they were gonna do the third one where they did the Sinister Six kind of stuff in the basement of Oscorp, but. I was it was fun, a little romp back through it, and I forgot how much of a romantic comedy it was rather than a superhero movie, and that just doesn't work for two teenagers or college, or I guess pre-college students pining over each other wanting before they go to school or not go to school kind of thing. So I did revisit it, and I'd say if you haven't given it a chance or you're bored, I don't think it's on Disney Plus, but I could see it being there pretty soon. But I was just killing time because I'm like, I was counting the number of sleeps so we could watch WandaVision. Like, that's really all I was looking forward to this week. Woo. And it is like I think they said it was over 500 days since our last new Marvel content for the MCU.
I was looking forward to it. I mean, we're not going to break this up into like spoiler free or spoiler section. So
I don't know if you could. To be completely honest,
this is just kind of required viewing for the podcast almost, right? I mean, this is like premium Marvel content. Even if it was like a DC show, that was doing something of this quality, this much money, this much prestige, we'd be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But I was just excited to press play on something new, Chris, like something new that we were begging for. So like the first thing I was looking for was like, oh, what Marvel logo are we going to get? I wasn't 100% sure if they were going to do something new, because, the Marvel, because of the Star Wars shows have that brand new opening, which I really, really like, but they stayed true with the original MCU opening, but they tweaked it at the very end for the first one. They went that black and white, and then they transferred to the 4:3.
This is also the first one, actually, they've updated footage to include in-game in it.
Is it? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it shows a lot more in-game footage. They've actually tweaked it. It's the same intro, but they've added new footage in between it, right? So like this represents all the movies that came before it.
And you get to hear the Marvel theme again underneath.
That
is
the
nice.
best part. We get to hear that for 8 more weeks, Mike. Or 7 more weeks, right? Like we are going to be getting a Marvel intro every week. And I'm like, yes, please. Thank you for giving me something iconic to look forward to. And then the episode hasn't even started. I was already like, yes, please.
Yeah, it was just so nice.
Great.
And honestly, if I just have to go ahead and say the biggest takeaway I have from these first 2 episodes is they did a really good job just making 2 vintage television episodes. Like if you just disconnect them from everything Marvel, and then obviously the parts where it gets dramatic and kind of breaks the theme, it would be kind of strange for like a unaware viewer, but it was just funny. I was like, these are just funny antics that would fit perfectly in the era that these shows were made. So I just want to give props to just the showrunner, the writing team, anybody who was involved. They just did a great job of really mimicking these 2 decades of television. I mean, it was so authentic. They did such a good job.
Yeah, and what is also, I will give them credit for, it's unapologetic about it too, right? There's no setup. There's no, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's been going on. Boom, you're in the 50s. With WandaVision in their house and like their intro about being married all of a sudden, right? There's no explanation. If you're wanting to know why Vision's back, you ain't getting it in these first 2 episodes, folks. I'm gonna be the bearer of bad news, but they played with it so well. Like they filmed it again. I don't know if you saw the document. They filmed all this in front of a live studio audience.
Oh, I wasn't sure if it was a live audience. That's great.
And they made the live audience and the camera people dress as they were from the 50s and 60s when they did these.
Wow.
So like it fit the aesthetic of everything, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's the little extra details, and like again, it's the old, like there are some camera magic tricks like where they do some effects, but like they also show them like when she's cleaning the dishes in the air with her hands, like those are really there on like strings and stuff moving, and I'm like, this is really cool looking. Like this is a Leave It to Beaver style set, a real what's the I Love Lucy style vibe to this, and especially the banter with her neighbor Agnes, right? Like who comes in and feels like that the swinging single neighbor who's like, he's like, oh, I'm she's not single. She makes fun of her husband several times.
Yeah, but we never see him.
Yeah, we never see him at all. But it was a really fun. Like I wish I don't think there's any way you could spoil these 2 episodes. Right? There's what is really interesting is I really love that Deborah Jo Rupp, who plays Kitty from that 70s show, is one of the people who
Kitty
comes
Foreman,
in for dinner. Like I love that because I love that character, right? And she kind of leaned into that a bit, but
yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like only Marvel could pull off a concept like this because they've earned so much goodwill with their audience, right? Imagine a show like this being made, 10 years ago or before they've made all of these like blockbuster hits. Like what kind of audience would put up with this, right?
Yeah.
If you take like a 14-year-old, like a high school kid, like, covered in zits, like, just like playing video games all the time, you can barely get his attention for 2 seconds from them to stop playing video games, to sit down and watch a movie. You say like, oh, you want to watch this old vintage like motif of these TV shows that you would never even blink an eye at, and but there's superheroes in it, they'd be like, no. But since these characters have all of this background and all of this love and have been in these huge, big, bombastic summer blockbusters, people are interested. And yeah, I haven't checked out the discourse. I'm sure there's a very, very tiny small minority of people that are just like, oh, this is boring and slow, I'm not going to watch it. I haven't seen any of those people retweeted, so I can only assume everyone's having a great time.
Well, so this is the highest, again, now that we use it, Rotten Tomatoes score for any Marvel property right now at 94%, highest of all. But I do know my wife's her friend's husband did not care for this. He said it was awkward, and I'm like, well, that's kind of the point of some of these situations, is that they are in fact awkward. Like, you know, you had the Vision who's like, he's like, what do we do here? He's like, well, we do reporting on what? Do we sell stuff? Do we buy stuff? They're like, no, we just run reports. Like, there's no answers to any of this. But what was really cool in the first and second episode, there are like two moments where it breaks the aesthetic of the 50s, right? Where it actually goes into actual film mode. And it's got the low depth of field, the dark shadow. One of them is whenever his boss is choking on the chocolate strawberry, and which was an interesting moment where it got dark, and it was like, I don't know the character's name in the show, but Kitty was like, stop it, like for like 2 minutes. I'm like, this is really weird.
It gets very trippy. It kind of reminds me at the end of I think it's Metal Gear Solid 2, where your comms communications just started getting very, very weird. Everybody gets very bizarre, and it was a great moment. It's a very interesting way to look at it from a filmmaking point of view, of just like, if you're never really sure why you feel the way you do when you're watching a TV or a movie or different genres, like now you know how different like a camera angle can feel, right? You know, multicam sitcoms have a very specific feel because they're all on like big machine tripods with wheels on them. Everything moves smoothly. But then the second you click over to something that's like handheld, everything feels different. So
yeah, a little more tension with it. Yeah. And then the second one is, you know, obviously at the end of the episode when the beekeeper comes out of the thing and she says no, and then reverses the moment, and then everything goes color, which was really cool.
Well, yeah, and speaking of color, we do have those two kind of Pleasantville-esque moments where we get to see something break the black and white mold. It was like a little tiny helicopter.
Yep.
And then also the really funny commercials that they made.
Yes.
And the toaster has like a little red light on it. I was going to ask you because I forgot in my head who was the company that made the second commercial, but I know it was
Strucker.
It was the Stark toaster was the first one, but I couldn't remember what the second product was.
It was the Strucker watches, and Baron Strucker is the guy who used the Mind Stone to give her powers in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, the watches. That's what it was.
And it had the hydro, but also the Dottie's blood in her hand in the second episode too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so there were three color moments. But I also want to give, you know, in case you didn't notice, on the helicopter, and then at the end of the first episode, it's a sword is the logo. And on the beekeeper as well. So how do they tie in? I don't know. But,
it does make you wonder because, like, you know, as far as we know, just within this universe, is that sword seems to be very much in the sky, right? Or if at least not in orbit in a space station. So, you know, is this just like a rebrand of S.H.I.E.L.D.? You know, why are they on the ground exactly? You know, are they on the ground? I know we've seen from the trailer, we've seen some of the outside moments where there's like grass and fields and there's like, you know, these vehicles, you know, looking in at some sort of strange like temporal disturbance. But yeah, there's so many questions, and you just bring up a great point, Chris. Is what can you spoil really? What I can glean from this is as we move on week by week, things are going to get weirder and weirder, stranger and stranger. The molds are going to start to break. We've already seen from the trailers that some of these secondary characters are starting to ask Wanda what's happening, why is what's going on here, and we actually saw that a little bit in episode 2, right, where that one committee woman,
Dottie,
who was like really sniping at people, she was there witnessing the very strange radio message coming through, who I believe was Randall Park, right, on the other end of that radio.
It is.
So we're starting to find out that these other people, if they are actually people caught in this with Wanda, or if she's just totally dreaming them up. So they are starting to react to this stimuli, but then they seem to kind of instantly forget it, you know, kind of once the event's over.
Well, Dottie's personality changed after the radio situation. She went from being very mean to Wanda to nicer, right? Like, she's like, how do you get blood out of this? She's like, let a woman do it herself or something like that. But the African American lady, I couldn't think of her name in the episode, is actually Monica Rambeau. That's the actress who will be playing her later on.
Yeah,
So
I had to do my best not just to annoy my wife while we're watching this. I was like, "Oh, do you see who that is? That's actually the grown-up version of the little girl from Captain Marvel." And she's like, "No. I don't need to tell her this.
Shut up, Mike."
They'll learn it. I don't need to dump all of this. So I kept that to myself.
But also you mentioned Vision couldn't eat. He did eat the gum in the second episode, which caused him to act drunk.
So funny. I love it. I love the gags. I love kind of like this weird kind of reality that they've made where like Vision is allowed to do really weird stuff that's out of the ordinary. Like when he's typing at work, his hands are going abnormally fast. If a real person did that in real life, you'd be like, what the hell is happening with your hands? But it's like a sitcom and it's a joke, so he's allowed to type that fast. And then he's also allowed to awkwardly say things like, I just love the joke of just like, oh no, actually no, I love eating food. I eat it all the time. Give it to me all the time. I don't remember the exact jokes, but my wife and I do jokes like that all the time of just like, yes, me, a human man, definitely not an alien from outer space, would love some chicken. So that running gag of just like Vision not eating food was just so funny. I loved it.
And one of the last things I kind of want to highlight in the first episode is the conversation about the heart, like Wanda's interpretation is it's an anniversary, so the house is ready for an anniversary, and then the boss shows up because he's the hearts, and like the way they have to recover from this feels classic I Love Lucy, right? Like or Bewitched era TV show. And I was very, very impressed with that. But I did have the song "Help Me Rhonda," but singing "Help Me Wanda" in my head, stuck in there for a little bit. These episodes are so brief too. That's the best. It's not the best part. I want more, but like much like Mandalorian season 1, like you get like a 23-minute episode, then you had like a 31-minute episode, right? Like I feel like these half-hour episodes are gonna be good to start, but like I want more, but at the same time I'm like, man, this is just enough to bring me back next week. Yeah.
Also, it makes you wonder. All of the marketing, all the trailers we've seen, we've only seen vintage aesthetics, right? When it goes to color, we've seen some stuff that looks like it could be 1970s, but from there, we have not gone anywhere.
Yeah, there is the 90s with the Halloween costumes.
Oh yeah, I thought that might have been 70s. Okay, so
at
the very least there, we've seen 4 different decades, right? Yeah. So, and if they're moving to a different kind of format per episode, this is 9 episodes, right? So is this going to get to a point where we're not in kind of sitcom land anymore? And I only bring this up because, like, if they move into maybe a more, like, dramatic, like, what if there's, like, a Law and Order procedural, type of, like, theme that they hit? If they do that, does the episode length go to 40 minutes, right? I would welcome that, right, to see more, because it makes sense for these first 2 episodes to be short, because, sitcoms are short. So yeah, I'm really, really curious where this goes. At what point are they going to start breaking the format and we're going to see the other side, right? When do we start to see Randall Park and
Darcy?
What's her name? Yeah, Darcy. When are they going to start filling out a lot of the episodes? All I can say is I'm so happy to have something to watch on Fridays again, right?
Yeah.
Especially during this pandemic, right, where you're just craving for anything new. And even outside of a pandemic, I liked having appointment viewing, right? It was nice having Game of Thrones on Sundays. It's nice having The Mandalorians on Fridays. So I'm just glad we have something else up in the repertoire. And, I'm just having a great time. It's a slow burn. I'm glad they gave us 2 episodes, because if we only had that first one, I'd be like, no, I need more.
Right.
So I think it was a smart idea to do those 2, because, by the end of that second one, things finally go to color.
Wanda's pregnant.
Do they go to widescreen? I don't remember.
I don't think so, because widescreen didn't happen until the 90s. I think there might have been a scene or 2, but it wasn't the full. It wasn't the sitcom feel. It was just, I think, that moment.
Yeah, I couldn't recall. I mean, it would make sense. Don't go to widescreen until you kind of get to that decade. But she's pregnant now, and that's another big question too. Is she gonna physically manifest children in real life? Like when this season's over, is she legit gonna have kids, or is this all in her head? And then what's with Vision? Is he gonna come back to life? It's just so curious. I love Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany is doing. He is like they are both eating up these scenes so good. They're really showing their range of actors of acting. So
it's so funny that because Wanda doesn't have her Sokovian accent anymore, and I'm like, that's fine. I'm cool with this them doing that.
Yeah, the accent really wasn't that great to begin with. I guess I guess that's something that you can do with Hollywood, right? Just it slowly disappears. Whatever, it's gone. We're having a good time, so I'm not going to nitpick over the accent.
And did you know Paul Bettany is the only Marvel actor to hit 3 decades currently?
Oh, good for him. Yeah, because he started off in Iron Man 1, right?
Yeah, Iron Man, and then Robert Downey Jr. Bowed out before this. Doesn't mean he can't come back, but at this current moment in time, Paul Bettany's the only one to hit 3 different separate decades of Marvel.
But overall, having a great time, no complaints, really. I mean, I can't yet say it's a perfect show, right? You kind of got to finish and see if they can stick the landing, but. Also, it's kind of weird, right? We can't do a lot of analysis off of these 2 episodes yet, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been told that the only difference between these shows and the movies is just length. You're going to have obviously we can see premium actors in this, right? We're seeing actors from the MCU and others brought in, but right now we have not really seen the budget flexed, right? And that's always the thing that's in my head, right? What happens when you go to the TV format? Usually the budget gets strained. And of course, I'm not saying anything that they're doing on screen isn't hard or possibly expensive, or they haven't put the extra mile in for sure, but they've definitely saved money, I would say, at the beginning of this, and hopefully it probably all gets dumped in at the end, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you're just talking in terms of visual effects. I think it does cost more to have something feel retro, and sure it is one scene, but I think there is some validity. Like, you got to spend money to make it feel like the 50s and 60s, right? And they did entirely. So yeah, I think we will see more later, especially from the trailers we've seen, stuff like that.
I don't know if you noticed this or not, Chris, but I feel like in the second episode, it's still black and white, but it seemed like they had some sort of pulsing, very subtle, green color that came and went every once in a while, almost like that they were kind of trying to artificially maybe put in a little bit of I don't know, television transmission look to it. It was weird. I was digging it. It was cool. It wasn't distracting, but it was just this second episode does visually look a little different than the first episode, color wise.
I think the second episode was another 10 years, technically the 60s instead of the 50s, because the second it started, Wanda was in pantsuit rather than a dress, and I was like, they wouldn't do that in the 50s at all. So
and
I think each year will be 10 years.
Yeah, and the camera moved a little bit differently, so yeah, this is just great. If you're a TV nerd in any way, you gotta be watching WandaVision. But yeah, I suppose there is a small 1% that could feel a little alienated by the format. But man, once all 9 episodes are out, this has got to be one of the most bingeable things I think has been made in a long time. All I want to do is watch the next ones.
Well, and what's crazy is comparing it to the Mandalorian, which is the Star Wars first Star Wars TV show. Live action. They gave us the Grogu at the end of episode 1. They didn't give us anything like that in this one, so I'm excited to see what it is. I want to see more about the beekeeper dudes. What's he doing? What's going on with Sword? And all this stuff. So I'm excited. You've got me hooked, people. Even if it wasn't Marvel, but like you said, we've earned these characters over time. So count me in. In that time, though, Kevin Feige's out here. He's talking. He's doing interviews. He's
I saw he was doing that right after we recorded the podcast last week. I mean, come on, Feige.
Yeah, really. We were talking about it. I'm like, okay, so got to write these notes down for next week already. But first off, Marvel and Disney Plus. He gave us the episode links for some shows because we thought maybe WandaVision could be hour-long episodes. We didn't know they were going to be half-hour-like episodes. But Falcon and Winter Soldier are 6-hour-long episodes.
Ooh.
Not 6 hours, 6 by 1 hour long episodes. Loki is the same, 6 by 1 hour long episodes, which is great. She-Hulk will be 10 half-hour long episodes, and Moon Knight's more of a 6 by 1 hour long episodes.
Yeah, I mean, you can glean from this is we're not going to get any of that Netflix 13-episode filler, right? When you get to episode 8, 9, 10, 11, you're just like, all right, come on, just let's get to the finale already. So we're not gonna have to worry about any of that.
Thank God, because that's my worst complaint against the Defenders style shows, right? I think a lot of shows have remedied that lately with The Boys and Umbrella Academy. They've really cut out the fluff episodes. They were like, here's 8, enjoy, or 9. We don't need to drag it out. So I'm excited for those to see that. But so I mean, if you're wondering what these are going to be, I really feel like the others were 1 hour long episodes is perfectly fine for Falcon Winter Soldier.
Also, yeah, this is good to know. This is a good show notes to bookmark in your browser for when you're trying to figure out like the scheduling of Disney Plus, right? Because we know we're getting Falcon and the Winter Soldier as soon as WandaVision wraps up. So we know Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to run for 6 weeks. So you're like, okay, well, what's going to pick up after 6 weeks there? So this is good. This is good info to have.
Yeah, it should be Black Widow and then right into Loki in May. So. Pretty good stuff there. And then after that, I think the what ifs are also half-hour episodes as well. I don't think the animated ones will be an hour long.
Yeah, that would seem strange.
Yeah, they could be 10-minute ones too, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like 10 minutes per. But yeah, we'll see that. But also Kevin Feige again out there mingling, giving people information left and right, and he has said they have planned out 5 to 6 years of the MCU versus what they've already announced, which is only like 2 years or maybe 3. So. That's great. I would love to see that dry erase board like we talk about every week.
Oh man,
what's on that big list at the end of it? What do we not know about? Like that's what I want to see at the end of that.
Yeah, I would also like to see like at what point when does the timeline start to become less concrete? They're like, okay, we know for sure we're gonna do this. Then after this is probably what we'll do, and then this is just kind of pie in the sky what we might like to do. And then I would imagine all those sections looked really different years ago before they knew exactly what they would do with Spider-Man or with X-Men and stuff like that. They're just like, oh, if we happen to buy Fox and get X-Men back, well, maybe we can block them out here. But yeah, I mean, this is nothing new. We know Feige's always on top of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not making these decisions up as they go, right? They've got ideas. They've got people working on this stuff. So we'll see more about that later. People were asking about 4K or Blu-ray versions of these shows. That status is currently unknown, but he's like, look to Mandalorian. For a low price, you can just stream it whenever you want, wherever you want. So why do you need a Blu-ray of this? Completionists for the MCU as myself are like, yeah, that's true, but I'm sad, but that'll be fine. I don't need to buy copies of TV shows that can stream on Disney Plus, right?
Yeah.
So.
I suppose you always have the other out of market questions, right? I don't know exactly where Disney Plus is everywhere yet, but I don't think it's 100% global yet. So, there could be some people in countries that's just like, I can't watch The Mandalorian because I can't buy it. So I don't know. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where a lot of my other shows I have on DVD came from, like England and stuff like that, where they like, we don't have Netflix here, like stuff like that. So that's crazy. He also confirmed that Avengers movies will return. Yeah, we know. There's just none right now. That's fine. We can take a break from the biggest movie ever in the world to not do Avengers movies for a second, right? Mm-hmm. And then lastly, he debunks a rumor that they're actively casting Wolverine for an X-Men movie that they've not announced yet. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody within Disney, I don't know if it was Feige himself, they've said that, like, the X-Men is going to be a while.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't put a timeline on it, but I think they're just like, don't hold your breath. Like, we got a lot of other stuff coming. So who knows? It could just be a diversion to be like, oh, shit, an X-Men and Miss Marvel's, show or whatever.
Yeah.
But
they could do that, but, like, at the same time, like, we're not getting an X-Men movie anytime soon.
Yeah, all eyes on Fantastic Four right now. Let's get them going. Let's get them up and running. Let's see what these young Avengers might look like first, and then we can start dipping into the X-Men.
5th time's a charm for a Fantastic Four. Let's see what they do there.
Mm-hmm.
He also did say that people are like, oh, the Defenders contract, the Netflix stuff is up. You own these characters again. And he's like, well, everything is on the board when talking about these characters from the Netflix universe shows. Again, I like to see new versions of some of them appear, but if they want to bring them back for cameos, that's perfectly fine as well. Which brings me to the other big news for Spider-Man 3. Charlie Cox has apparently filmed scenes for this movie, and he's done filming scenes for this movie. So, do you think here's my thing? Do you think he's in Spider-Man 3's universe, or is it an alternate universe thing because of all the other Spider-Man people?
So, I mean, I guess this is pretty crazy, right? Because Spider-Man 3, obviously, it's a Sony property, but it is being made by Marvel. This is kind of like this is the MCU's doing, right?
Yeah.
So whatever happens in Spider-Man 3 should theoretically, technically, be canon, right, for the MCU moving forward. So if Charlie Cox as Daredevil pops up as an alternate universe, that's definitive putting a stake in the ground. The Netflix shows are a different universe. You're not going to see these characters popping up unless there's some sort of a rift in space-time, right? So if they do that, I would actually be okay with that because I
Yes.
just want it answered, right? You know, whether the shows were great or bad, whatever critical rating you want to put on whatever particular season of the Netflix shows that you watched, they've run their course, right? I mean, like Luke Cage season 3, I might watch it if it dropped magically sometime soon, but like that was like years ago now. Like all the steam, you know, all the heat behind it, you know, it's dissipated. So I just don't see why you bring any of these characters back. It would seem so strange to bring just Charlie Cox back to do a Disney Plus show and then like, well, are you just going to recast all these other characters? It's just too messy. Why would Feige want to deal with all of this messy stuff, right?
Yeah.
He would just want to cast new people that have like all this new you know, just like shininess to them, right? So
yeah, and Spider-Man 3 is a movie that's dealing with the multiverse. Doctor Strange will be dealing with the multiverse. WandaVision will probably be dealing with the multiverse, right? Like, so these characters being on the table to show up through multiverse visions, totally on the board. Like, bring them in, film some scenes showing they're in a different universe, whatever, and then you're done with them, kind of thing. And then we can do new Daredevil down the road or whatever. I'm not really clamoring for Daredevil in my MCU right now, right? Like, we've got a lot of other stuff moving pretty quickly, which I'd like to see. So, you know, if he doesn't show up for 5-6 years, that's totally cool.
He's been so bogged down with ninjas, right? And we haven't even introduced a single really ninja in the MCU. So it's just like he has all this past. It's just like it's not congruent with what's going on right now.
I think you're incorrect. He has fought more hallways than he's fought ninjas. But like, you know, again, the Punisher doesn't need to be brought in. You know, no one cares about Iron Fist. But if they were going to do Iron Fist, they put him in Shang-Chi, and they're going to bring in a new guy because nobody liked that guy in the show. So. You either take it all or none. You don't split hairs with this. Keep it easy for everybody. But if he's in it, that's fine. That's whatever. We can't do it, but I trust. Again, we've not been led astray. I trust them to do what they're going to do, Mike.
I would love to see a character like Daredevil pop back up in the MCU, kind of like how they've brought back Boba Fett in Star Wars, right? You know, you're watching a totally different Disney Plus show, right? Let's just say Miss Marvel, just for the sake of it's the first thing in the top of my head, right? You know, she's dealing with trying to like fight a bad guy in like episode 5 or 6 or whatever. You know, she's about to get her like lights knocked out. She's about to lose the fight. Then all of a sudden the baton like flies in off of a rope, and it's like, oh, Daredevil. He is now in the MCU now. It's a totally different actor, a totally different suit, and he's been there. He's been in New York. He's been fighting, and it's not surprising that we've never heard from him before because he's a very street level, low level hero that, you know, really wouldn't pop up on the radar of a lot of these bigger Avengers that are literally trying to save the universe from aliens, right? He's just busy trying to keep ladies from, like, you know, getting beat up in alleyways, right? So
from the hallways. The hallways are beating up the ladies.
Yes. So I just like the idea that like he is just there. You don't need to introduce him. You don't need to see his backstory. And then what you can do is you can develop his character a little bit more. Maybe he pops up in the next episode. He helps Miss Marvel with a mission, and then the audience loves him, and then you backdoor him into his own TV show, right? You know, I think something like that makes the most sense, and it would be a fun surprise, right? You know, just one day you're watching a TV show and bam, Daredevil's back.
Well,
that's my pitch.
I think I think that is some of the ideas for these shows. You know, give them TV shows, put them in the movies, back and forth. But I'm really more excited. Like, I think She-Hulk has an opportunity to do a lot of this. They're bringing back Abomination. If she's dealing with B-list like lawsuits, what if Justin Hammer gets out of jail because in She-Hulk, and then he's up in Armor Wars later against Don Cheadle, right? Like, there's ways to bring back these B or C list characters that even Marvel's used and be like, yeah, he's still here. We didn't forget about him, kind of thing. So, I think there's opportunities, but I think there are ways to do that, and we'll probably see something like that, like where they've kept it close to the chest and bam,
Chris,
surprise us.
This next bit of news is going to be a service to me because I saw these things pop up throughout the week, and I didn't have the time to research it. I didn't have the time to dip into it, and it felt like one of these things that like was not going to be true. So I was like, I'm just going to wait till Sunday till Chris tells me the news. So what do we got up here?
Is it true or not true? Chris Evans is close to returning a deal to return as Captain America.
Well, I guess it just depends what clickbait headline I was scrolling past, because like some people were saying he's coming back, Captain America's coming back. And I honestly just ignored it because I thought it was a WandaVision spoiler. Because like if she's manifesting stuff in her brain, Chris Evans has already popped up in a Thor movie, right? As Loki doing a impersonation of him. So I was like, shit, is Chris Evans in WandaVision? It just got spoiled, so I didn't look into it at all.
No, he was not. Then Chris Evans was like, well, this is news to me literally like 2 hours later. So it's like, so there's one way to look at this. One is he's going to probably maybe cameo in something, or there's going to be a reference to Captain America that someone took off something, or he's really close to closing a deal and he's just going to play coy like all the actors do until they tell us otherwise. So right now, chalk this up as a rumor because we have no facts to go off of. So
yeah, I mean, he's I guess he could come back as an old Clint Eastwood man, right? I mean, that's what he is, canon, right? But I guess there is a splintered timeline where he is the current age that Chris Evans left off as.
My guess is he's going to show up in Loki.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean,
he has to get that cube back, right? To restore the timeline. Or what if he's in Secret Invasion and the Skrull looks like a Captain America for like a scene?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to bring back Tony or Captain America, Tony Stark does. You know, they've run their course. They had amazing endings. I cried when these characters wrapped up their arcs. Don't drag them back out. You know, we don't need them, and they had a perfect ending.
But if Chris Evans is gonna do maybe he does one of those PSAs like he did in Spider-Man, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah,
like he can do cameos, but I don't think he's gonna be an actual actor in anything.
No, that kind of stuff would be funny. Yeah, if it's just like a fun wink or a nod and it's really not canon advancing his character through a timeline, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah. The only other thing I can think of like where it literally was him is maybe there's some flashbacks in Falcon and Winter Soldier he's filming, so he's just filming a couple scenes real fast, or again, Loki trying to get the cube back from him. To correct the timeline.
This is probably a good idea. Is we should probably prep ourselves for the Robert Downey Jr. rumors that eventually will probably pop up when Ironheart's in development, right?
Yeah.
You know, how do you do, a legacy character of Iron Man without doing some sort of reference to the character? Obviously you have all of this footage from all of the movies and stuff, but like
they didn't write Ironheart, that referencing Ironheart, so.
Yeah, it's not like Ironheart, the character, is going to be watching Avengers Endgame. You know, it's going to be weird if she like sees a clip from that movie, you know, as like a security footage or whatever. You know.
Yeah, he'll have to film something for that probably. But yeah, it's not going to be big stuff, so I think we're fine. On the flip side of that, apparently Matt Damon has landed in Australia for filming on Thor: Love and Thunder. If you remember, he was in Ragnarok. As
is he
gonna play Loki?
That's what I was thinking. Is he reprising that Asgardian acting role? That'd be so fun.
He could also probably be doing something else, small cameo. He is apparently good friends with Taika Waititi, so I could see him doing something fun like that. Matt Damon, I mean, he got one of his things was whenever Scotty Doesn't Know from Euro Trip. Like,
yeah, that's what I was just thinking too. Yeah.
Like where he was like bald and the singer of this band. So I think he's a fun guy and would have fun doing something for Love and Thunder.
He likes cameos.
Yeah. And we're, Christian Bale's, and I was trying to think of how they time into that, but maybe he's doing something with Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know. Like it's fun stuff. But I like fun things. I like fun movies, like Deadpool. And Kevin Feige has said himself that Deadpool 3 will be in the MCU and will be R-rated, Mike.
I mean, duh. I mean, there was always, I mean, you have to worry a little bit because it is Disney. It is the House of Mouse. You know, they don't really traffic in a lot of rated R stuff under that label. I know they have like subsidiary studios that they own that do release rated R stuff. But yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Like, Kevin Feige's not dumb. Why would he ever anger the viral superstar that can tweet and, as much as I hate the word, Ryan Reynolds can tweet something and break the internet.
Yeah.
Why would Feige ever mess with somebody like that? Just let him make what he wants to make.
Also, I don't think, he's also not writing. He's just, Ryan is overseeing the script, but also at the same time, like, they're in the business of making money. And what did Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2 do? Make a lot of money. So, I think this will be something different off the wall. They will probably be like, I don't think it'll be, I still think it'll be MCU, but MCU adjacent, right? Like, he's not going to be teaming up with Spider-Man and cussing at Spider-Man. He's not going to be, toying with some of the major players. But they could totally show up in it and totally cement it in the MCU kind of thing. So
I imagine that there's going to be multiverse jokes for sure in this Deadpool movie. Like I'm imagining a moment where he's literally talking to somebody and then he turns around and then when he turns back, the character's gone because he was sucked in through like a wormhole or something. He's like, oh man, that dude's in a Spider-Man movie now. I was just talking to him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did that with in the first one where he's like, "Are you which Professor X do we have here? Do we have the the Patrick Stewart or the McAvoy one?" So yeah, I don't see that. I see this being fun again and good time. And the Bob's Burgers, is it the Schaefers who are writing it? Is it Schaefer? I forget.
The Bob's Burger writing duo. I don't believe they're related, so I don't think.
I think the sisters. That's the two sisters.
Are they sisters?
Yeah, they have.
I thought they had different last
one
names.
Has the single last name, the other one has a hyphenated version of that same last name.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Either way, I think this will be fine. Like this is not breaking the internet news. We expect it to come. The other thing, I don't know if we're going to see Black Widow in May. Mike, I'm very, very worried about not seeing it in May at this time. But the studio has also denied, at this time, also a simultaneous theatrical and Disney Plus release motto, kind of like how HBO Max is doing with theirs.
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, they're not going to make a decision until, let's see here, I would assume April, right? Because when they drop the Mulan news, and I believe also the Soul news of coming to Disney Plus, whether you pay $30 or not, that was not telegraphed very long ahead of time. I think the Mulan news was maybe a month ahead of time, and Soul might have been a little bit longer, maybe an extra week or so, but like they said at their investor day, is they're being nimble. They're adapting to the market with these releases. So if this is something that we do get to stream, on Disney Plus, we might not know until April.
I think WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier will tell if it's a feasible model, right? Like how many people are watching these straight through? Like, are they treating it like a movie kind of thing? But also, I think they'll make the decision in March once Raya and the Last Dragon is out, because it has a split model like that. It's the next movie with that. So based on Raya's performance, will probably make that call.
Yeah. Also, it's been hard to tell with these live action releases, right? Because the animated family stuff has done really, really well, right? Because you got kids at home, they need stuff to watch. But yeah, I haven't heard anything of like really live action video on demand like really performing like exceptionally well. I feel like that news I've only ever seen with animated stuff over the last year.
Yeah. So we're gonna play that by ear, see what goes on with that, and hopefully get something sooner than later. I wanna see it. The Moon Knight is coming out. Rumored to have Oscar Isaac as the main character, but they've officially cast Ethan Hawke as the protagonist in the series, or antagonist of this show. So, I think that's fine. Right? Like he's a great actor.
Who doesn't like Ethan Hawke? He's a great guy. I mean, that's like I said before, that's premium casting, right? I mean, that's a big name to really sell your show. I mean, I guess Oscar Isaac, also very, very large, but the villains are always just as important as the heroes in anything you ever make. So it's a great poll. I have no idea who he's going to be because I really don't have a strong Wikipedia knowledge of Moon Knight.
So what I've seen is that he could possibly be Dracula, because Moon Knight has a history with like nighttime and like the moon god and kind of mythology kind of thing, which would also tie this into Blade even more. But Ethan Hawke was also in a couple vampire movies anyway, so I think that's just why they went to that.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool though. I mean, bringing like a vintage character into the MCU like Dracula. I mean, I would love to see the MCU spin on a character that's been around forever like that.
Yeah, and the leader of the vampires, if you will. So maybe he's the leader of Morbius. Maybe that's tied into this, Mike. I don't know.
Oh, Morbius! What the segue we needed.
Yeah, it actually worked out perfectly because Morbius has been pushed back from March to October by 7 months. So
surprise. It never really made sense for that movie to come out in March, except for the fact that nobody cares about it. So I guess go ahead and place it in March.
March was its second release date. Like, remember, it was delayed. So I think that's why they were like, oh, we're going to be back to theaters by March. I don't think we're going to be back to theaters by March, but
no, it makes a lot more sense for it to be in like the month of October anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be like scary, spooky, but I mean, that's the month that Venom performed really, really well in. You know, October is usually the spook month. So
it's got vampires, or the living vampire.
Yeah, go see your vampire movie.
Go
there,
go
right?
pick up your Fangs at Hot Topic and go watch Morbius. Oh, as your what was his band's name that he's part of? Yeah,
Mars something.
Yeah,
Mars?
30 Seconds to Mars. Yeah,
yeah.
So wearing your goth stuff while you go watch Morbius. So, but it's in October now, so you don't have to. I know you guys were chomping at the bit to buy your tickets for it, but now you can wait a little bit and get them in October. On the flip side of that, HBO has moved up Godzilla vs. Kong from May to March. So March 26th, we will be able to watch Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters and HBO Max.
Yes, it sounds like they finally cemented that contract because I know that there was
Legendary
some legal entanglement there. I didn't put it in the QuaranStream yet because I haven't finished it, but Kong Skull Island is on HBO Max, and I kind of threw it on while I was working out the other day. So I'm only about halfway through it. So I was like, oh, this is a good movie. I feel like this is a good movie I only have to kind of pay attention to, and I was, unfortunately, I'm kind of right. It's Jordan Voight Roberts, the director, he definitely has like a flair that he's bringing to the film, but the script's not very strong. The dialogue's clunky. It's just okay. It's a perfect movie to just kind of half pay attention to. So Steve, I can't remember the actor's name. Played Steve Brule. He's in the film. What's his name? He was in Step Brothers. Opposite. Will Ferrell.
Oh my gosh, John C. Reilly.
John C. Reilly. Yeah, his character is hilarious, but totally out of place in the movie.
Yeah.
Like he just does not fit within the universe that they are building for this. I like the premise, but everything else is kind of falling a little flat. But yeah, so I'm trying to dip my toe into this franchise for the date of March 26th, right?
Right. Well, you've watched the Godzilla movies, though, right?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
I guess I'm doing this chronologically, right? I'll start Vietnam era 70s, and I guess I'll move to Godzilla 1 next.
Yeah, that'd be better. You're actually going to get better as you go, so that's fine. You're going to be doing yourself a favor here, so that's good to know. But also knowing that you watch it while you work out, if you're going to treat it like the Clone Wars, you'll never get it done either. So that's one of the two. That's fine. On the flip side of that, Justice League, Zack Snyder's cut of it, he confirmed that this will debut as a one-shot movie and not 4 episodes as we'd originally been threatened with.
Good.
This is still coming out in March. We'll get 1 4-hour movie to watch, and there is no post-credit scene for this movie because this movie is a dead-end street.
Get this nonsense done and over with.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
This changes so much. Every week there's something new here, and it's not like it's bad or good. It's just like, this is different than we said it was last week. Okay, just tell us right the first time, and we won't have this conversation. But we're almost done with January. When February's only got 28 days, so we're practically March as it is. So we'll be able to talk about it sooner than later. Hopefully, we already have HBO Max. We don't have to pay for it again, Mike. Thank God for that. Batman, the movie, has the best cross promotion ever, Mike. This is what we live for.
This is made specifically for us, this news.
Yes. So the newest flavor of Mountain Dew coming out this year is called Riddler's Brew, and gives us a weird look at the Riddler in this movie.
Yeah, I think the first thing you said when you sent this to me is this is like a double whammy. It's like we're always on the lookout for like new snacks and like new junk food and stuff like that. So just the fact that we're getting a Mountain Dew leak is really, really cool. But also it's a superhero leak. So we get to see a little bit of the Riddler because like we don't really know what this character is going to do in the movie yet, right? Is Matt Reeves making a super grounded kind of film where the Riddler's never really going to be in a costume and he's just going to be like a mysterious kind of dude in maybe like a trench coat, and then he's just going to be like messing with the Batman? Or will he kind of adapt some sort of visual flair to him at some point in time? So I guess this answers the question a little bit, where he seems to have some sort of goggle situation going on. They seem to be in the shape of glasses, but they seem to have some sort of volume to them, right?
Yeah, so the Riddler's known for his glasses, right? That's kind of like one of the things I think he's known for is his Riddler glasses, and I think this is a different take on that, but it kind of looks like an owl shape to the face too. Like Is it like, are they going to implement the Court of Owls into him somehow or not? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't really have a whole lot of cinematic Riddler stuff out there. We just have Jim Carrey. It's a very, very specific take on the Riddler, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
This is not going to be that direction. I can already tell by this Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
But what flavor is this going to be? I don't know. Maybe blueberry since it's blue. But I have. It's weird. Like we are the only two people on the planet that have equal questions of what's the flavor of this Mountain Dew and what's this Riddler doing, whereas most people are just like analyzing the Riddler.
Yeah, one or the other. I think the Dew thing is, I think this was supposed to be, it looks like the Batman was supposed to be October of this year, right? So what if this is the Pitch Black but branded as Riddler?
Oh yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of guessing here. So
Riddler's Brew. I didn't realize the Riddler brewed things, but okay.
yeah, it's the mystery flavor. He's gonna tell us riddles until we guess what it is, or you can just drink it, not care. One of the two.
I always love those kind of leaks, though. They're fun.
Oh yeah, this is again prime for us. This is specific for us, and I really enjoy it. So you can take a look at that in our show notes there. The Star Wars game franchise, Mike, are going to be now branded under Lucasfilm Games as a whole, rather than separate entities. So they're like trying to bring it under like one cohesive umbrella. It sounds like. And with that news, it means that EA is no longer the only company making Star Wars games now.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest kind of response I heard to that news, where people are just like, oh, maybe we don't have to worry about the stranglehold from EA and their microtransactions because they've the whole boondoggle with all those Battlefield games. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm honestly so surprised that these big studios, franchises, corporations have not locked down video game development. I know it's a very specialized, specific skill that you can't just hire like a much smaller number of people like to make a movie compared to a video game. Like if you ever watch the credits of a video game, I would say they're probably much longer than what you would see even on like a high budget movie, right? So it's just like, I just don't understand it, right? Like, you are Star Wars. This is Disney. You need to acquire video game talent. Stop leasing out your properties. Like, there's so much money to be made here, and there's such a cool cohesive way to like get your brand out there. It's just I don't know. I think it's just a matter of time. I'm just surprised it's taking this long for them to really get everything under an umbrella.
Well, I think the licensing's easier because you can have more people make your games faster, right? Like, if Disney had one studio to make all their games for every property, there's not enough resources there, right? Like, that's why they can go make our mobile game, go make an Xbox game, go make this. And I think the problem with Star Wars and EA was like, they were like, we're going to do Battlefront again, which everyone was clamoring for, right, for years. And they did Battlefront, and then the first one was fine, and then the second one just tanked with the microtransaction stuff. But what we did get out of it that was really good is was it the Jedi one, Fallen Order, which is a fantastic game. So I think the problem was, I think they were just licensing out the things, and no one was at the helm of the studio or of Star Wars to be like, if we're gonna make games like we used to do with when Lucasfilm did make games, we need someone to guide that direction so we can tell stories and do something good. Because I think this is gonna lead into a Knights of the Old Republic 3 kind of scenario.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Or Knights of the High Republic, which is the new thing they just kind of kicked off. But they need someone leading that so they can check for quality and make sure they don't have the backlash Battlefront 2 is. Like, Battlefront 2 right now is free in the Epic Game Store. That's how far that game has fallen over time. Like, they're just giving it away at this point. So, but on the flip side of that, they've said that Ubisoft is making an open world Star Wars game, which would be cool. I'm guessing it's like Grand Theft Auto style kind of open world.
Yeah, at first I thought this would be interesting, and then I saw some of the discourse going on where people were like writing dialogue for what the game would be. It's like, Luke, go to this star system and collect 84 holocrons so you can get into this Jedi temple so you can upgrade your lightsaber. And I was like, oh god, that sounds like exactly what would be in this game,
Yeah, it could be, but I think that's what the Lucasfilm games like this has to live in a world where everything's cohesive now. It's not like this, wherever this goes, whether it's post Skywalker Saga or pre-Skywalker Saga, I think it's going to be an Old Republic. They have the Old Republic, which is an online MMO, but I think it's going to be like a again, like a larger, maybe Coruscant. They had that 1313 game where it was going to be like the underworld of bounty hunting and stuff like that. Bounty hunting games probably be fun. Maybe it's a Mandalorian style game, right? Right, with bounty hunters.
Yeah. My guess is it's a game where the protagonist is just learning that they're becoming a Jedi. I know that's a lot like the previous game we were just talking about, because that just fits really, really well into like the skill tree of video games. You start somebody off at 0 and they slowly learn their skills. So, who knows?
I hope it's not. My only thing is I hope it's not Jedi. That's my only hope. That it is another, again, like I said, maybe bounty hunter skill set that you're unlocking rather than.
I mean, that would be really cool. You're a bounty hunter and you have to unlock all of these skills and equipment, and you really have to load your character down. You have to visit the item shop to buy all of this stuff, because you know your next mission is you have to go kidnap a Jedi, right? And you're gonna need every skill and every resource you have, because they're gonna F you up. Like really, like a Jedi is just gonna pulverize you. So you need all of your wits about you, and that sounds fun.
And that gives the quest mission of an open world game more legitimacy, because you're taking quests to get money to buy this new stuff kind of along the way. So that's what I'm hoping for, not Jedi related. On the flip side of that, with this Lucasfilm Games announcement, they did announce that Bethesda is making an Indiana Jones game. And they gave us some stuff that relates to Indiana Jones, like a hat and a whip.
And just a little teaser.
Little teasers. This game's probably 2 or 3 years out, but the question is, Bethesda being purchased by Microsoft and it's so early, will it be an exclusive for Xbox, or will it be for every console, Mike? I think with money in the Indiana Jones franchise, it'll be everything. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played an Indiana Jones game except for Uncharted, so I guess Xbox, this is their way to get their own Uncharted, right?
Yeah, it could be. I think there was I remember some like old Nintendo Indiana Jones game I always rented.
I think you're thinking of Pitfall, right?
Yeah, not that far back, but yeah, Pitfall. We talked about it. What was that? Lego Indiana Jones was the other one. So, couple there. So yeah, Indiana Jones games in the work from Lucasfilm Games. And speaking of games coming to movies, Mortal Kombat. Upcoming movie, we've talked about it. It's on this HBO Max thing, supposed to come to HBO Max in theaters this year. They gave us some first images, including characters like Sub-Zero, Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, Kano, Jack Scorpion in his human form, and Kung Lao. They look pretty game accurate, I think. Mike, what do you think?
I think the biggest news here is that they're going to be performing fatalities, right? I mean, they look like Mortal Kombat characters to me. You know, they got the right costumes on, so there's not too much to take away from there. But yeah, I was just reading the article and I was like, oh yeah, this is rated R. We're going to be, they didn't specifically say they're going to be pulling spines out of bodies, but that's kind of the classic fatality, right? But it does make me wonder, in a video game, the fatalities work because like the Mortal Kombat games are almost kind of campy in that way of just like crazy, kooky, wild stuff happens that normally wouldn't happen in real life. So like, you know, if you're kind of making more of a dramatic, serious action movie, how do you do a crazy off the wall kooky fatality? So I don't know if they're going to try to hit a certain tone or if they don't give a shit, you know, they're just like, we're just going to throw a bunch of blood and gore at you and we're just going to confuse you and distract you with entrails and whatnot. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. There was a little bit of buzz about they've created a brand new original character for the game. Yeah. That it sounds like it's probably going to be the protagonist. Yes. And I saw there was some like, I don't know if they call themselves like combat heads or Mortal Kombat aficionados were just like, we don't need a new character up in here. And I was just like, dude, it's just a Mortal Kombat movie. Like, come on. Like,
they put new characters in every game. I don't know why you're upset about this.
Your game franchise is just a fighting camp game. Like, it's so incredibly hard to turn like a arcade fighting game into a movie or a narrative because you always have to warp and twist everything into like combat and like into hand-to-hand combat, right? I mean, watch the Street Fighter movie or watch the other Mortal Kombat movies, right? You know, eventually you got to set up some sort of tournament stakes, which always feels kind of weird and wacky. So like, yeah, just don't get too precious with your Mortal Kombat, right? You know, it's all kind of nonsensical. So this is just kind of, I look at this from the lens of maybe like Fast and the Furious. I just want to go and just turn my brain off and watch some fun stuff.
This is, I mean, classic 90s video game, right? Like I remember watching the Mortal Kombat Annihilation in the 90s and be like, these are awesome. These are not good movies. They're not good movies by any means. But I'm like, this is awesome. This is exactly how the games were. But like, I did see like in one of the clips for an HBO Max teaser, like, they show Sub-Zero having his cryomancy, right? Like making things out of ice and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see, full on Scorpion, and Sub-Zero fights. I want to see again, Kung Lao throw his hat with the sharp edges. We got to see, Supergirl's Makad Brooks. I don't know. As Jax with his robot arms, right? Like this is classic looks here. I'm very excited to see kind of where this goes. But they didn't show off Raiden. I'm actually really surprised they didn't give us Raiden because he's in this. So, but they're going R-rated with the fatalities, with the amount of blood and gore. They're pushing it, Mike. So we're gonna see how we can get there without hitting that NC-17 rating for the amount of gore. So, knock on wood. And lastly, I know you're wanting more games to TV adaptations. They're making a TV series for Risk, the popular board game.
I don't know if this is like a big insult, for Risk fans, but I've never played Risk at all. The only thing I know about the game Risk is when Kramer is playing a very long game of it with Newman and Seinfeld, and the game takes so long they take it to the subway, through the subway, and so it's some crazy man like karate chops it or whatever. I have nothing to add to this, Chris, because I literally know nothing about Risk except for kind of what the board looks like.
Between me and my brother-in-law, we own about 30 types of Risks between the both of us. We grew up playing.
You are the person to have an opinion about this, huh?
Yeah. So Risk. There's all the different types of Risk. I mean, I'm just gonna go basic classic Risk mode, right? Take over the world domination, basically. I'm rolling dice based on the number of people there. How does this work? I don't fucking know. I saw the Battleship movie and it didn't really work. So I don't. This is just going to be like some sort of political thriller, and probably no battles are going to be seen. But I did see it was written by Bo Willimon, who created the House of Cards show on Netflix, which I think people really enjoyed until Kevin Spacey, went off the deep end. So,
I mean, that makes sense because like you can't tug in cheek Risk stuff into a movie like this, right? I mean, it's just like, what is some character like off the cheek going to say? Like, I guess we got to roll the dice, and they wink and nod at the camera and see how it goes. Yeah, this almost just seems like somebody write a really interesting political thriller that deals with like borders and multiple countries, and then we'll just slap the title of Risk on it to just kind of give it some promotional juice.
Yeah.
That's my strategic imagination of the studio.
This is probably a House of Cards clone, dealing with the world instead of America, I guess. Mm-hmm. So, and if it's my guess here, so I don't expect a whole lot out of it. I don't think I'm even gonna watch it. But as someone who owns lots and lots of Risks, how are they gonna make this work? I have no goddamn clue.
So, oh boy.
Yeah. So we're gonna end on that. There was a risky move to end on that one, but we're going to.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah, you knew I was going for it. But Mike, if people want to know what you're up to, where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, you're working on arcade machines in your spare time. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. I'll put up some of my work later. I should have been showing Mike off what I've been working on, so I can throw those up. If people want to know more about what we're doing, what we're listening to, where they can find us, where can they do that at?
Well, the best place to do that is superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. Like I mentioned up top, if you want to know how many episodes are going to be in each of these Disney Plus streaming series, we got that in the show notes this week. And we got links to those, that Mountain Dew bottle, if you want to check out what the Riddler is going to look like behind the Mountain Dew logo, that is. In that little Indiana Jones teaser, we got lots of links up in there. So check out superheroslate.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. We love it when you reach out, tell us what you love, what you hate about the show, what you want to hear more about. Are you one of those weird people that couldn't quite connect with WandaVision? I would find that kind of strange if you've been listening to this show every week. I feel like everyone, this is up everybody's alley right now. But if you want to be the contrarian voice, I'd love to hear it. So please reach out. And if you want to be a super fan of the show, it's very easy to be a super fan of Superhero Slate. All you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, wear your mask, possibly double up if available, because that'll protect you even more. Make sure you're social distancing, and you will be a bona fide super fan, and we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll catch you guys next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
I think I sing that all the time now.
You doing some Mario Castle music?